Coming up on Morning Drive, Jordan Spieth climbed several mountains in winning the Open on Sunday, but can he crest one of the game's highest and complete the career Grand Slam at the PGA? Plus, Jim Bones Mackay joins the show fresh off his debut as an on-course walker to share insight into the player-caddy dynamic between Spieth and Michael Greller. And Dr. Ara Sapaya makes a house call. Are you traveling to play golf this summer? He has an answer for jet lag. Coming up on Morning Drive. Welcome into Morning Drive Tuesday, July the 25th, the year 2017. So this is Studio AP. Wow, where have you been, David? David Hack alongside Chris DeMarco. My friend, how are you?
Good to have you back. Where you been?
I've been all over the place. Sicily for 10 days, and I went to the Irish Open, the Scottish Open, and of course the Open at Birkdale. So neat to watch Jordan Spieth really take another step toward being one of the greatest players of all time. Let's just say it. This is a different player. He went to a different level on Sunday. Matt Kuchar did nothing wrong.
Nothing wrong.
He just was in his own place.
No, just Jordan Spieth just kind of steamrolled him, and just spectacular golf.
And tell you what, and the party has not stopped. Take a look at this social media post by Jordan's brother, Steven, of course, now on the Dallas Mavericks practice squad. Went to Brown. You can see Jordan way in the back with girlfriend Annie Verrett, Mama Christine, Papa Sean. 5 a.m. wake-up calls and champagne showers. Congrats to Broski on 3/4 of the Grand Slam. Now, Chris, you've done some partying in your time. You won a President's Cup back in 2005. As good a celebration as Jordan's, you think?
It was a good one. We all, Jack and Barbara Nicholas, left their room. We all went into their room and we ordered a lot of stuff. We had a great time that night. I remember walking back, the door was open. I saw a couple really good bottles of wine that were unopened. I took those with me. We shared them later that week.
Would you have some Camus or something?
A little Camus, a little Silver Oak.
Very nice. Tell you what, well, Jordan Spieth, maybe he's not done. Perhaps more history for him in this 2017 season. He's already given us so much in the game, but can he take one more step and complete a career Grand Slam at Quail Hollow at the PGA? No player has ever completed a career Grand Slam at a PGA championship in the modern game. That's what Jordan Spieth is trying to do, coming off that 3-shot win at Royal Birkdale. You see Gene Saracen, Hogan, Player, Nicholas, Woods. Not one did it at a PGA. So on Sunday, Todd Lewis asked Jordan, how much will the Grand Slam be on his mind in 2 weeks' time at Quail Hollow?
I don't think it'll have much of an impact unless I work my way into contention again. And if so, it's just a little bit of added, something on top.
Do you take that and fuel for you?
It can serve as confidence when you've won a major before and you put the majors on the same pedestal. If you try and look at the PGA Championship now on any different level than another major because it's that more significant to you to accomplish a career Grand Slam, that's when you may run into trouble of thinking too much about it. So for me, it's a major championship. I'm going to have a lot of goes at majors going forward. That's the plan. And I believe I'll play enough PGA Championships that I'll get the breaks like I did today to have it go my way. It doesn't have to be Charlotte. And so my plan going in will be the same as it was coming in here. Rest and relax a couple weeks prior, gear up. I've got Akron, where I played well last year, and nothing's better preparation for a major championship than trying to win the week before.
Spieth confident, and why not? As we jump into this latest edition of Fill in the Blank, Jordan Spieth will win the career Grand Slam in a couple weeks at the PGA because
this is a confident young man, and when he gets going and he gets confident, he can run with it. Tell you what, we saw it happen at the Masters and the U.S. Open a couple years ago, and this is a guy that when he starts playing golf and he starts realizing he can win, he believes in himself like no other. So I don't think it's going to happen, but I certainly wouldn't put it past him.
He does win in bunches, and you talked about the spring and summer of 2015 when he didn't seem to miss an important putt. He nearly won the career or the in-season Grand Slam, finished tied for 4th at the Open, and then had that runner-up finish to Jason Day at the PGA. But I want to say he's not going to win the career Grand Slam in 2 weeks' time at Quail Hollow because of Rory McIlroy, who has 2 victories and a runner-up finish at that golf course, has a round of 61 and a 62 at that that golf course. I know the golf course has undergone a lot of changes, but the vibes for Rory are so good. Coming off the tie for fourth at the Open, and you may be saying a tie for fourth for a four-time major champ, that's not a big deal. It is a big deal for a player who had missed 3 of his previous 4 cuts.
And started out poorly at the British Open, too, and made a great comeback. 5 over early in that round and got it back to 1 over. So he's definitely trending in the right way.
Let's continue the conversation, Chris. The biggest challenge facing Jordan Spieth at this PGA Championship will be what?
The rest of the players. I mean,
Okay.
and a big golf course. Obviously, also trying to keep that high going. I think that this is going to be tough. I mean, you know, going major and then only a couple weeks off and going major again, there's a lot of big tournaments, and you throw the WGC Bridgestone in there too, so there's a lot of big tournaments leading up to it. So, you know, that's the biggest thing, is just the golf course, the enormity of the situation, and then obviously trying to complete the Grand Slam now. There's another extra added pressure to that.
I think the biggest challenge will be Rory McIlroy. I could obviously and easily see both of those players playing very well, and I actually believe that because of what we saw at the Open at Birkdale, that it's very clear that the 2 players that are fighting for the throne of Tiger Woods and to be the best player maybe in the next 10 years are Jordan Spieth and Rory McIlroy. All due respect to Jason Day, all due respect to Dustin Johnson. Rory with 4 major championships, Spieth now with 3 major championships. That tells me that these are the 2 players kind of vying for that alpha dog role in the absence of Tiger Woods. Do you see that? Are those the 2 players that are vying for the bold type history in your mind?
You know, I think the one guy you can throw in there too is Dustin Johnson. I think he was set back by that injury that he had at the Masters, but I think that he's right in there too. He has the power. He's certainly putting better than he's ever putted, and his wedge game is amazing. So I think you can throw those 3 in there. Those are the 3 I'd put in.
All right, speaking of 3, who's going to be the next player to complete the career Grand Slam? Will it be Jordan Spieth at the PGA? Will it be Rory McIlroy at the Masters, or Phil Mickelson at the U.S. Open?
I believe it's going to be Rory McIlroy at the Masters. I
do?
I do.
Wow.
I think that he had that tournament in his hand 4 or 5 years ago. Should have won it down there by Butler Cabin, unfortunately, on number 10 there on Sunday. The course sets up perfect for him. He hits a high draw. That's what that course asks for. High iron shots. His putting's improved. Once he gets to putting down there and he starts really feeling good on those greens, I think you're going to see it. It's kind of inevitable that he's going to win that golf tournament.
You think so? I think it's going to be Jordan Spieth. Not in 2 weeks' time. I'll say Belle Reve in 2018. I just think that Phil Mickelson, the window, it seems to be closing. As great as he's continued to play, obviously he missed the cut at the Open. I think that the ask is too big at this point. Late in his 40s now, new caddy. He's trying to hold on to something, find something. I think it's going to be difficult for him. And I think we've seen how difficult it's been for Rory to try to play great at the Masters. We've seen it throughout history, whether it's Tom Weiskopf trying to win there, or Lee Trevino, or Greg Norman. The weight of having to literally wait for 8 months between the PGA Championship and the Masters means there's so much build-up to that first major championship of the year that Rory McIlroy will be asked about it wherever he goes. What are you doing in preparation for the Masters? Are you ready? What do you have to do to get over the hump?
Well, I mean, first of all, we go back to Phil, and Phil hasn't won since a week ago, 4 years ago at the British Open. So we're talking about a guy in his late 40s that hasn't won in 4 years. That's going to be tough. Rory McIlroy obviously has been asked this question now. This will be his 3rd Masters that he can complete the Grand Slam in.
Right.
Jordan Spieth is going to be asked that question every time he goes into now. So it's tough. That expectation is to get that last one. And when you do put yourself in contention, it's just that extra added, it's going to be tough.
No one in the modern game has completed the career Grand Slam at the PGA. Arnold Palmer couldn't do it. Tom Watson couldn't do it. Do you think there's a major that is more difficult than others to complete the career Grand Slam? Which one is it?
Well, you know, I mean, we actually have the rotation of the British Open, so there's 7 or 8 courses that we see, so it's the same. The Masters is always the same, so I would think the U.S. Open or the PGA would be the toughest because the courses go all over the place.
I think it's the Masters. I think it's the history, the ghosts, the goblins, the 12th hole, the history of all these players that have been close in trying to get it done, and the build-up. And that, to me, gives more credence to the greatness of Tiger Woods, that he was able to complete the Tiger Slam, having to wait 8 months after winning that PGA at Valhalla and then winning that Masters in 2001 to complete the Tiger Slam.
I played with him on that Saturday when he was going for it.
Yes, you did. I think it's the Masters, the history, and good, bad, and ugly, the catastrophes we've seen at that golf course.
I agree with that, for 2 reasons. One, it is the same venue, so if you don't have a good record there, it's hard that you're going to go out there and get your final major of the Grand Slam. So that's the tough part.
Jordan Spieth, he was must-watch in 2015, nearly winning the in-season Grand Slam, and now in 2 weeks' time he chases the career Grand Slam. And speaking of Jordan Spieth, great duel with Matt Kuchar. Let's say good morning to Travis Fulton and talk about that duel. How are you, bud?
Hey, good morning. Welcome back, DJ.
Thank you, man.
It's good to see you. And yeah, it was a great duel, Jordan Spieth and Matt Kuchar. Jordan Spieth, of course, likes to hit that little penetrating penetrating draw with his irons, and then Kuchar, that nice little floating fade off to the right. So two different styles. I want to show you a little bit of a breakdown here with these two and how they go about that, hitting the draw for Spieth and then that fade there for Kuchar. And you can see at address here, they already look a little bit different here. If you look at Jordan Spieth here, he's got what we call a little bit more pelvic tilt. He takes his pelvis and he kind of tilts it this way where the belt buckle turns down a little bit more, legs more engaged. And then Kuchar, kind of a little softer address, more rounded in the shoulders, and his arms hanging a little bit more vertically like that. So a little bit difference there at address. Now we're going to take him to the top of the swing, and this is where you're going to really see some differences here as you take Jordan up to the top. Let's go ahead and play Matt up there as well. And when you look at Jordan here, a lot of changing here of the knee flex. You can see the right hip really pulling back. The right knee is straightening up. You can see some space in there between the knees. And then you look at Kuchar here, a little bit more conservative, right? That right knee is staying flexed. And generally, for players that like to fade the golf ball, you're going to see a little bit more flexion in the right knee. So definitely some differences here in how they use the lower body, the changing of the knee flexes to the top of the swing. Now, let's play it down. We're going to go halfway down. And when you look at here, the Open champion in Jordan, let's go ahead and play Kuchar as well. Jordan's a player that will sit just a little bit more. That pelvis was tilted back. He draws that right leg up. Now he can kind of drive the weight a little bit more down into the ball of the left foot, where Kuchar is a little bit more of a rotational player. So instead of the weight kind of going here, you'll see him starting to work a little bit more around the corner, and the weight's already starting to trace back into the left heel. Now as we go down in the impact, because Jordan has kind of loaded the ground now, he can start to push up. I really like how Jordan pushes the belt buckle up and using that leverage through the ground there. And then you can see Kuchar again just rotating. Kuchar wants to really get there on top of it and continue to rotate back around towards that left heel. And as we go to the finish, you're going to see this little patented cutoff, little trap draw finish that we see for so many times from Jordan. And then of course Kuchar hitting that release fade. He wants to continue to rotate all the way around where that right knee will kiss the left. So two different styles. You know, Jordan, a player that likes to hit that trap draw, will work the ball a little bit from left to right from time to time when it's needed. But Kuchar really like to hit that patented fade over and over again. And coming up later in the show, Damon, I'm going to show you some insight on how Kuchar practices that little tight fade with his coach, Chris O'Connell. Over to you.
Looking forward to that, Travis. Also looking forward to Dr. R. Sapaya later talking about jet lag. But our Tim Rosefort has no jet lag. You made it back yesterday, hopped on Golf Central after being in England, and here you are this morning. How are you, bud?
I'm still running on adrenaline after that one, Damon. That was incredible.
That's a lot of travel for you. How about Jordan Spieth? Yeah. This comeback from the drive on 13, hitting the spectator on the head. You see Jordan's hands go up. Everybody's thinking about the 2016 Masters. What are your thoughts, big picture, on what we saw on Sunday?
Well, the word epic is overused, but it certainly fit in this one. I can't, in 37 years of covering majors, remember a player coming back from being unhinged to winning a major championship trophy on the backside the way Jordan did. And it's just a credit to him, and obviously the internal fortitude he has, his caddy Michael Greller, some of the things that he said. But it was Jordan hitting the shots. The only it would have been like Greg Norman coming back after doubling the 12th hole at Augusta to beat Nick Faldo in 1996. The closest thing I can think of was Tiger's 40-31 in his first Masters as a pro. Of course, that was the opening round, but if he doesn't complete that type of turnaround, who knows? Maybe it changes the course of history.
I will say this. It was interesting watching Jordan in 2016 after the disaster on the 12th hole. He did birdie the 13th hole. He did make a comeback and nearly try to chase down Danny Willett.
If he makes that putt at 16 and he comes very close to making it, I think there's a playoff for that Masters.
Might have been a different story. How about this picture that we've talked about in the last week? Jordan Spieth spending time with Michael Jordan and Michael Phelps, Dwight Freeney, Russell Wilson, Fred Couples. Is there something to this that he actually gained some confidence from spending time with some legends in their respective sports? This
was more than just a party in Cabo. Asking Jordan about it, there was a moment July 4th night where Michael Phelps invites him and the other Michael Jordan, over to the place they're staying to talk about, as Jordan told me, the ups, the downs, everything that they go through on that level. And it goes back to what the final round where Michael Greller gets in his head. I'm sorry, I got so many Michaels in my head. he gets in his head and says, "You remember that group of athletes you were with? You're that type of athlete." And it was that belief that he had in himself that came through in those final holes.
It's what makes athletes like Tom Brady so special, down 28-3 to the Atlanta Falcons.
Exactly.
Do you think Jordan maybe realizes that he actually belongs in the same breath with some of the legendary athletes in our time?
Well, this immortalized him, and certainly he could not win a major championship the rest of his career, and everybody's going to remember this. But this is the type of stuff, the performance that he put on there is classic Michael Phelps, classic Michael Jordan, and Jordan Spieth belongs in that group now forever.
It's an amazing moment, and he just seems to be just getting started. A lot of eyes on him in a couple weeks' time at the PGA Championship at Quail Hollow. How about his coach, Cameron McCormick? What an amazing week for him as well. He was there every step of the way. We know Jordan switched putters earlier in the year, missed the cut at his hometown tournament, Byron Nelson Championship. What a turnaround for him.
He's got Noah Goodwin winning the U.S. Juniors the night before, right? He's got this kid, Austin Connolly, top 20 in his first major championship, all 120 pounds of him. But he really credited all the parents and the platforms and the faith that they have in him as an instructor, starting with Sean and Chris Spieth and right on down. Cameron McCormick, at this point in time, you can put him in the same breath, not over the course of his career, not over body of work, but right now, right here and now, with Butch Harmon and Pete Cowan. Also
has So-Yeon Yu of the LPGA Tour, who won the ANA Inspiration. How about Austin Connolly? He was a revelation to a lot of us at Birkdale. You saw him looking a little bit like Smiley Kaufman in terms of his build and his face. You mentioned what, Kevin Kistner maybe in the eyes. How much of a bright future does this kid have? And also a nod to the North Texas PGA section. They're producing a lot of talented players.
Talked to him last night after Golf Central, and here he is in Germany, still up. He's playing on a European tour, trying to get his card that way. When he started working with McCormick, he was all of like 117 pounds, and he's not much more than that right now. He admitted to me last night that sure, there's some golf courses that are not going to fit his game, but he and Cam are working on that. They're not trying to overdo it, but his ball speed is getting up there. And a big lesson for him yesterday, 2 days ago rather, playing with Brooks Koepka, a guy who went about it the same way he's going about it, playing on the European tour, the family experience of over there, the travel, all those things. He came out of it with a lot of confidence. As McCormick told me, if it's 10 dogs going for one piece of meat, this is the kid that's going to come out with it. And he showed a lot of that spirit in his final round and that total performance.
Absolutely. He didn't seem to be afraid of anything. And the Brooks Koepka, Peter Uihlein, Chase Koepka, Austin Connolly route seems to be working for a lot of players. Looking forward to chatting with you next hour. Some notes on Matt Kuchar and that great scene with him and his family.
I had that jet lag on Michael Greller. I'm sorry about that.
That's all right. You have been grinding, buddy.
I pulled that thing out, though.
Absolutely. Wow. You sure did. Like a champion that you are.
That was a good bogey for me.
Absolutely. T-sheet time. Let's say good morning to Bailey Mosier.
Good morning, Dame and Rosie. You guys are on fire. Lots of energy. Kind of an unfair advantage, though, just being over in Europe. It's like 2 p.m. already where you guys, where it feels like you are. We just rolled out of bed. I woke up like this. T-sheet time for you here on this Tuesday edition of Morning Drive. Last week's winner and runner-up, there are two guys who have been known to hold bunker shots from time to time to, win tournaments. Spieth, obviously, most recently at the Travelers Championship. Kuchar at the RBC Heritage in 2014. So Travis and Chris are going to teach you why they're so good at those bunker shots and how you can be as well. And we're also putting Travis to work today. He's going to be joined by Dr. Ara Sapaya for another sports medicine series segment. So this time it's going to focus on ankle mobility, why it's so important to have it, how to get more of it, or how you can work around it in your swing if you don't have a lot of that ankle mobility. And tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, you can catch the Mile High Showdown right here on Golf Channel. Now, it is the 8th event on the World Long Drive Tour's schedule this year. We're going to get you warmed up for that action. We're going to introduce you to Glenn Wilson Jr., one of the competitors who uses motocross as a way to train for hitting long drives. Who knew? All that and more is coming up on this Tuesday edition of Morning Drive. We're back after this short break. Damon, coming in hot.
Coming in hot.
Firing on all cylinders.
After a month
Love it.
in Europe.
D-Hack is back.
It's great to be back.
D-Hack?